With a little DIY skill and some help with heavy lifting, putting together your WD series horizontal vertical log splitter is simple and easy. We're going to be assembling a 30-ton model today, but these instructions will work just as well with a 25-ton or 35-ton model. This video will be used as a supplement to the assembly and operating instructions in your owner's manual. Please read and review all instructions before you begin. The first step will be to unpack the box. You'll use a 14mm wrench to remove the bolts at the bottom holding the metal crate to the base. There's no need to remove any of the other bolts. It'll take 2 people to lift the crate in one piece and set it aside. Next, use scissors or a knife to cut the straps holding the machinery components in place. If any parts are damaged or missing, please call customer service before proceeding. The number is 800-780-2677. Use your owner's manual to identify each of the hardware kits, which are pre-sorted for assembling specific parts of your log splitter. Arrange the tools you'll need and assembly hardware on a clean surface. Now you're ready to install the tongue assembly to the reservoir tank. Set the tongue beam between the upright metal plates on the reservoir tank. The M10 hardware kit that you'll use to attach the tongue assembly to the reservoir tank is found on the beam support bracket on the tank. Use a 16mm wrench for the bolts. After the flat washers are in place, use a 17mm wrench to tighten the lock nuts. Before installing the wheels, first set the reservoir tank off of the ground on blocks. The wheels slip into the axles easily. Secure them with the castle nuts from hardware kit number 2 using an adjustable wrench to seat the bearings. Insert the split pin into the slot of the castle nuts and the hole in the axle. After using needle nose pliers to bend the ends of the pin back against the castle nut, twist the dust cap onto the wheel and tap it into place using a rubber mallet. Your tires arrive pre-inflated, but check tire pressure prior to use. Tires should be inflated to 30 psi. Mounting the engine and pump assembly is easier than you'd think. The engine and pump assembly are already put together prior to shipment. Use the hardware from Kit 5 to place and secure the engine and pump assembly to the engine mount plate and reservoir assembly. Use 2 13mm wrenches, one to hold the upper bolt in place while you tighten the nut on the undercarriage. Now we're ready to upend the beam assembly. This is a 2-person operation. Remove the plywood that is securing the beam assembly with a pry bar or a claw hammer. Have one person stand on each side of the shipping crate base. Pivot and lift the beam assembly onto the wide foot base so that the hydraulics are at the top of the machine. Lift the tongue and roll the reservoir tank assembly into place. Position the tongue and tank assembly so that the beam support bracket is between the 2 tabs on the beam. Slide the clevis pin through the aligned holes and secure the spring clip. Connecting the hoses comes next. Attach the oil suction hose first, then tighten the hose clamp using a flathead screwdriver. After you've cut the strap securing the 2 hoses to the beam, hand thread the connectors matching the numbered labels to one another. For the oil return hose, make sure the O-ring sits inside the filling slot. Tighten the hoses using a 32mm wrench or an adjustable wrench. To rotate the beam assembly into the horizontal position, carefully lower the beam assembly to rest on the tongue and jack stand assembly. You might want to brace the front end of the rack with your foot as you do this. The horizontal beam is self-locking. The spring-loaded lock will snap into place when the beam is back in position. Rotate the control handle up from beneath the valve on the handle link. Remove the clevis pin and the bow tie cotter pin from the valve and use this hardware to secure the handle in place. From this position, we can also install the log tray. Use hardware kit number 6 to secure the log trays to each side of the beam assembly. Your Boss log splitter is delivered to you without motor oil in the engine or gas in the tank. Please fill it with the types of oil and gas that are specified in your owner's manual. You'll also need to fill the hydraulic fluid. Use the hydraulic oil your dealers provide, or buy any of these recommended hydraulic oils. Please check the fluid levels every time you use the machine. Lubricate the beam with engine oil before your first use. Do not use grease to lubricate the beam. Your log splitter is ready, and now it's time to start splitting logs like a boss! Here are a few final tips. Always check the tightness and condition of the bolts, nuts, welds, clamps, hoses, and wedge. Number 2, ensure proper hydraulic levels in the tank and fill as needed. Number 3, make sure that the machine is on a stable, level surface. If you have questions while assembling or operating your Boss Industrial Log Splitter, our customer service department is here to help. Give us a call at 800-780-2677. Thank you, and enjoy splitting logs like a boss!